Okay, let's dive right in. Have you ever wondered why some people just seem to effortlessly reach the absolute top of their fields? We usually just brush it off, right? We call it natural talent. Well, Napoleon Hill had a completely different take on this. He famously said that practice is the secret key that turns dreams into destiny. Think about that for a second. Success isn't some magical gift you're just handed at birth. No, it's a concrete habit forged through relentless, daily practice.
So, here's a question for you. Why do some people grow stronger after a hardship, while others just completely break after a single setback? It totally challenges everything we tend to assume about resilience and innate ability, doesn't it? In today's explainer, we're going to break down this profound philosophy of practice found in Napoleon Hill's teachings. As you'll see, practice isn't just about learning a new skill. It is about fundamentally reshaping your mindset, your discipline, and honestly, building a completely new operating system for your entire life. So here is our roadmap for today. First, we'll look at the true meaning of practice. Then, we'll weigh motivation versus discipline, uncover why failure is actually a hidden teacher, and finally, figure out how to make practice a permanent lifestyle. Let's get to it.
All right, Chapter 1, The True Meaning of Practice.
A lot of us mistakenly think practice is just doing the exact same thing over and over again. But actually, that's just mechanical repetition. It's a routine completely devoid of growth. True practice, that is a conscious journey. It requires deep, sometimes uncomfortable self-awareness. When you repeat a task consciously, you're actively hunting for your weaknesses, refining those flaws, and really elevating your skills. Think of it like this. If a pianist just mindlessly hits keys, well, that's repetition. But if they add emotion, precision, and softness to every single note, now that is transformative practice. And this actually works on a physical, biological level through something called neuroplasticity. You see, our brains are incredibly flexible. When we engage in that focused repetition, we literally rewire our brains by building brand new neural pathways. It's like a child learning to ride a bike. At first, it's terrifying, they fall down, and it takes immense conscious effort. But with each attempt, the brain is calibrating balance and reflexes. Those neural pathways get stronger, and suddenly, riding that bike becomes completely effortless. That is self-rewiring in action. Which brings us to a really profound insight. Napoleon Hill states, knowledge is only potential power. It becomes power only when applied and practiced. And wow, hits the nail on the head, right? I mean, reading a book about riding a bike doesn't mean you can actually ride one. Knowing something is virtually useless unless you repeatedly apply it until it becomes a permanent part of who you are. Practice is the engine that converts that raw potential into undeniable power.
Moving on to Chapter 2, Motivation Fades, Discipline Remains.
Hill wrote that self-discipline is the master key to riches. And you know, riches here doesn't just mean a fat bank account. It means success in your health, your career, and your personal growth. The absolute ultimate investment you can make is in your own self-discipline, because that is the defining quality that actually turns a goal into a reality. Look, motivation is essentially a liar. It's temporary, it's mood-dependent, and it is entirely based on how you happen to feel on any given day. Today you have energy, tomorrow you're tired, right? But discipline is permanent. It's purpose-driven and commitment-based. It's that quiet voice in your head that says, I really don't feel like doing this today, but I'm going to do it anyway. It is the powerful ability to act consistently, even when every emotion in your body is begging you to stop. To truly grasp this, just consider the legendary Olympian Michael Phelps. He trained for years without missing a single day, not even a Sunday. Elite performers like him just refuse the luxury of excuses. They know that if you take a day off just because you don't feel like it, you break the rhythm. And rebuilding a broken rhythm, that takes 10 times the effort. So discipline is doing what is required, not what's convenient. And here is the mathematical and frankly biological payoff for that kind of unwavering discipline, the Japanese concept of Kaizen, which basically means continuous improvement. Get this, if you improve just 1% every single day, the math of compound growth means you are 37 times better by the end of the year. 37 times! It's a slow, invisible progression. You aren't going to see it day to day, but those tiny, disciplined daily steps eventually compound into highly visible mastery. That brings us to Chapter 3, Failure, the Hidden Teacher. Take a look at this incredibly powerful thought from Napoleon Hill. Every adversity, every failure, every heartache carries with it the seed of an equal or greater benefit. You see, when we fail, we aren't just losing out on a result. Our ego and our false assumptions are being stripped away, and what's left behind is the vital, raw data we desperately need to achieve true wisdom and real growth. 1,000. Just think about that number. That is a staggering level of persistence.
because that is the exact number of attempts it took Thomas Edison to perfect the electric light bulb. Honestly, most of us would have called it quits after 10 or maybe 50 tries, feeling completely defeated.
But when people mocked Edison for failing so many times, he responded beautifully. He said, "I didn't fail 1,000 times. I found 1,000 ways that didn't work." I mean, what a mindset shift. This famous response proves that success is absolutely never just about avoiding mistakes. It's about building the emotional stamina to outlast those mistakes. To him, every failed attempt was just another necessary data point, leading him toward the final solution.
Notice the stark difference in mindset here. To a winner, failure is merely valuable feedback. It's essential data on what not to do next time. But to a quitter, failure is a final verdict that they just aren't good enough. Listen, failure is purely an interpretation. It only breaks you if you view it as a punishment rather than the absolutely necessary feedback required for your growth.
All right, let's bring it all together in Chapter 4, Make Practice a Lifestyle.
So here is your concrete blueprint. If you want to make practice a permanent lifestyle rather than just some fleeting habit you drop after a week, you need to follow these 3 rules. First, you must have a clear vision. Second, you need to establish a sacred routine. And third, you must celebrate your micro wins. Let's break these down real quick to see exactly how they work.
Okay, step 1 is having a clear vision. You really have to find your why. If your reason for practicing is weak, literally any distraction will pull you away. But what's super fascinating here is the neuroscience. When you physically write down your goals every single day, you activate a part of your brain called the reticular activating system, or RAS. This physically trains your brain to unconsciously filter through millions of daily signals just to spot opportunities that align with your vision. You are literally aligning your subconscious with reality. How cool is that?
Step 2. Make your routine sacred. This means treating your daily schedule as a temple, not a prison. You need to establish absolute non-negotiable boundaries here. Eliminate decision fatigue by scheduling your practice at the exact same time every single day, and guard that time fiercely. Turn off the notifications, don't be available to anyone else. Protect your practice time the exact same way you would protect your oxygen.
And finally, step 3, celebrate those micro wins. Now, acknowledging small progress isn't about throwing yourself a lavish party every time you do what you're supposed to do. It is actually a biological necessity. When you pause to appreciate a tiny improvement, your brain releases dopamine. This chemical naturally sustains your motivation and literally wires your brain to trust the process. It completely transforms a grueling task into a highly rewarding journey.
So, as we wrap up this explainer today, I really want to leave you with this one provocative thought. Who are you becoming through your daily habits? Because practice doesn't just sharpen your technical skills, it shapes your character, it builds your resilience, and ultimately it constructs your human destiny. Every repetition is a vote for the person you wish to become. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and I challenge you to start practicing for the future you want, starting today.